Disclaimer, this is my first time sculpting, so go easy on me and stick around to the very end for a stop motion scene featuring my new sculptures. Hi there, my name is Dee and it's the third Friday of the month, which means it's time for an Art Addicts Alliance video. Here are the current list of members of the AAA, including a brand new member, a previously featured guest, Jude's Arts Desk. Everyone give them a warm welcome. The Art Addicts Alliance is a group of artists here on YouTube who collaborate together every month to make art based on a prompt that we all vote on. This month's winning prompts were Spooky and Mini. Everyone's channel links will be in the description so you can see what prompt they chose and what they did for it. To hear about how you can become a featured guest or a permanent member of the AAA, watch till the end of the video. So my piece this month is going to be based on a little game, you may have heard of it, it's called Minecraft. It's kind of underground, not many people have really heard of it. No, but seriously, I chose the prompt Mini because it immediately made me think of Nerdy Crafter, who is awesome at making mini sculptures. And that reminded me that I have an art supply that's been hiding away in a drawer for quite some time, and that is oven-baked clay. The clay set I have here is Sculpey 3. I believe this pack was like $10 at Walmart. It's got 14 different colors that you used to be able to see through these little windows, but since the set has been slightly used, all the open colors are in a Ziploc bag, and I just reopened the green here and you can see it's still soft and kneadable. I don't want to get any kind of stains on my desk, so I'll be laying down some parchment paper, and of course I have some tin foil to help me bulk out some parts of my sculptures. I have a couple different sets of tools. These are just some various sized dotting tools that came with some graphite transfer paper I bought. And this is a cheap set of plastic sculpting tools that I believe came with a $5 clay or squishy making set that I bought for my son Ben, and I just kept these tools because why not? I wasn't sure how much I'd be using any of these, but I got them out just in case. I did, in fact, end up using them. They were quite helpful. So all of this aside, the real reason I've busted out the clay supplies is because of these. These are blocks from a knockoff Jenga game I got from the dollar store a long time ago. They're quite light. I think they may be made out of balsa wood. My kids never ended up playing with it, but I've been wanting to paint these for a long time and couldn't decide what to do with them. That's where Minecraft comes in. If you'll notice, the designs of some of the characters are quite rectangular and blocky in shape. Originally, I was afraid to put them in the oven, but a very good friend of mine named Natalie, you might remember her from a previous video.
Sure is. Uh-oh. Oh, goodness.
What?
Hello.
Oh, wait, this is... Oh.
What? I know. I know.
It's not yet. She better be up now and start calling. I'm like amazed. Amazed.
Thank you.
Really good content. Really good content.
Told me that it was totally safe to bake these in the oven because the temperature was low enough and the time was short enough that there was no risk of lighting my house on fire. And I trust her. So what I did was build up parts of my sculpture around some tin foil. I've never actually sculpted anything before besides a small volcano for part of my son's school project, and even then he did the majority of it, so this should be interesting. If you couldn't guess by now, my first sculpture will be a creeper. They have a rectangular shaped body with a block shaped head, and they have 4 separate legs, but I'm going to be sculpting the feet sitting together, so I can get away with just making 2 shapes instead of 4. So I made rectangular blocks with the tin foil and wrapped the clay around it, one for the front feet and one for the back feet. I plan on using some super glue to hold the feet on the block initially, but I've read that super glue loses its bond with heat, so I'll also be using some liquid poly clay, also supplied by Natalie, that will cure with heat to keep everything held together. It was quite difficult to make the clay be as smooth and perfect as I would have liked, but these will end up being toys for my kids because well, honestly, my entire household loves Minecraft, but I'm sure they'll waste no time in causing cracks and chips, so I'm not worried about the sculptures being perfect. With the feet complete, now we do the head. Actually, let me glue these on first. So I'm going to be making a Steve sculpture, that's the main character of Minecraft, along with this creeper, and I want them to be as proportionate as possible. Steve is taller than the creeper, but not by much, about half a blockhead. And just gluing this to the block so it's more secure while I'm putting the clay on. So I'm using tinfoil to bulk out a shape around the top of the block that'll be the creeper's head, whereas with Steve, I'll create his head entirely separate so it can just sit on top of the block. An issue I noticed right away is that I kept trying to use as little clay as possible and rolling it out as thin as I could so I could cover more area with less clay, but in doing that, the foil would poke out in certain places because the clay was so thin and I'd have to patch it with more clay anyway, which in turn made me have to do more smoothing. I'm sure that's why it sometimes got stuck to my roller because it was too thin. So I tried to remind myself it was okay to be a little more liberal with the materials. I've had it for a long time and it's finally getting used, so just use it. This is where some of the tools came in handy, smoothing out all the wrinkles and cracks. The big roller was great for flattening each side out completely, and that helped to give everything a more defined block shape. Now my creeper base is done, let's make Steve. I used a bit of wire, also supplied by Natalie. Everyone say thank you, Natalie. She's the real MVP, letting me test out sculpting using some of her materials, so I didn't have to go out and buy a bunch of materials I might not use again. Thank you. So my plans for Steve are for his arms to be sculpted on the wire, which I will wrap around the block and cover with clay so that after it's baked, the wire will be held in place and the arms will be movable. Steve's body is basically one of these blocks with a square block for his head and rectangular blocks as his arms, so that's what I'll be attempting to recreate. His legs will just be painted on. Here are their bodies side by side, so you can see that Steve will be just a bit taller than the creeper once I put his head on. To make Steve's head, I balled up some foil and then basically beat it down with a bottle of paint, first on my desk, but I didn't like that, so I took it to my porch railing outside and it made a really tight block shape. Again, not perfect, but it worked. Then it was the same process of laying on the clay and flattening out each side, and again, here's me rolling out unnecessarily thin pieces of clay and making my life more difficult just for the sake of not wasting materials that's being used for the first time in forever. Does anybody else do that? So at first I pre-glued the head on, but eventually I realized it would be much easier smoothing out the clay and making the arms on a headless Steve, so then it was off with his head. At least until baking time. It was much easier with the creeper because its head was further down on the body. You know, it's kind of funny that when I was writing the script, I would always capitalize Steve's name, obviously, but also the creeper's name because that's its name and it's a proper noun, so it should be capitalized, right? But like, does it really deserve that? Creepers are arguably the worst mod in Minecraft. They are so annoying and just seem to pop up out of nowhere and ruin your day. One time, a creeper blew up right next to my husband's house. Not sure how it got there because he had completely fenced off the village and put torches everywhere, but anyway, it blew up the side of his house and destroyed some of the things on the other side of that wall, and one of those things was his shulker box, which had a ton of important stuff in it. My husband was so mad, I'm pretty sure he completely quit playing Minecraft for like a month at least. That happens every once in a while. Steve will need something to defend himself with from the creeper, so let's make him a sword. He also won't be able to do much mining or crafting without any tools, so we'll make a pickaxe too. For the sword, I started with a foil base, which was a mistake. It made it really hard to get precise edges because the sword is pixelated and it has little points all over it. I covered a basic sword shape of foil with clay and then used an X-Acto knife to make my cutouts. Cleaning up the edges afterwards was really difficult, so for the pickaxe, I just ended up making the whole thing out of clay with no foil, which I realized after already making the pickaxe base out of foil. Can you tell I'm new at this? The editing makes this part look like it didn't take too long, but do not be mistaken. This part was painstaking. I was staked with pain. The foil does help when you need to bulk something out so you don't have to use as much clay, but these pieces will be flat so they don't need to be bulked out. Wish I would have realized that sooner, but hey, I know now. Now that I've already done the work. Moving on. Okay, that's enough, I can't watch anymore. This is as far as I got with the pickaxe base before realizing how awful getting the clay around those tiny edges would be, but it at least served for a good guide in building the pickaxe. Here are the two side by side before I bulked up the sword. You can tell it looks too small compared to the pickaxe now, so it needed it. I used a rounded tool to smooth out where I cut, and here's how they'll look when Steve is holding them. He'll have 100% more head though. Now it's time to bake. I preheated my oven as directed by the clay instructions, and I'm laying out all the pieces on a baking sheet lined with parchment paper. Here, you witnessed me making a grave mistake. Did you spot it? I forgot to glue Steve's head on. Thankfully, it was only in the oven for 1 minute before I remembered. Again, can you tell I'm new at this? Now that the head is securely attached, back to baking. Here they are, fully baked and cooled, and I think they look great. You can hear they are nice and firm, and Steve's arms move just like I planned. Oh, uh-oh. The clay cracked a bit. But it's just at the base of the arm, which this one comes off. Okay. And I think I actually forgot to use the liquid polyclay to secure the creeper's head, but I did use super glue, and at least for now it feels pretty secure. And the sword has a crack. Okay, let's paint him. Who should we paint first? I asked Ben and he said the creeper, so creeper it is. This video is already super long, so let's enjoy this time lapse of painting the sculptures, and I'll see you at the end. Originally, I was going to make a diamond sword and a diamond pickaxe, but Ben told me that was boring and asked for an enchanted netherite sword and a redstone pickaxe. So that's what I did. Here are the final pieces. Sorry, the lighting is kind of weird. They're really shiny. I have this magnetic strip that I cut pieces off to attach to Steve's hand and the two items. And I found pretty quickly that I should have made Steve's feet a little sturdier. He was way too top heavy when holding the items, so while he can stand on his own, he can't while holding them. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the feature presentation. I hope you enjoyed that. It was unbelievably difficult to do. Don't forget to check out the other Art Addicts Alliance members in the description to see what they did for this month's prompt. If you'd like to know more about our group, how you can become a member or a featured guest, how you can help suggest and vote on our monthly prompts, or just hang out and chat and share art with us, you can join our Discord server linked in the description. We currently have 2 spots open for new permanent members, and to qualify, you need to be 14 or older, have at least 100 subscribers, and make art videos. Oh, and also be on Discord because that's where we communicate and get the prompts. Thanks so much for watching my videos. It really means a lot to me, and I'll see you with the next one. Bye!